The purpose of this video is to introduce our elementary teachers to the entry of skills into the GradeQuick program. For those of you who have used GradeQuick in the past, you'll recall many of these steps from your work as you completed the skill entry into previous grade books such as English, math, and specifically the general skills. The process begins by launching an Internet Explorer browser window and entering the GradeQuick portal by typing in www.headline.net. Once the Headline.net portal opens up, we enter our user account. And then we select the gradebook under the Tools menu, the 2013-14 gradebook. And I think most of you will recall that we navigate between gradebooks using the Windows menu. So once I click there, you'll see a listing of all the gradebooks that appear on our standards-based report card. Looking at the 4th grade report card, you'll notice that we have sections for language arts, math, science and social studies, guided reading, and learning skills and behavior. These all correspond to the choices under the Windows menu. We navigate by simply pulling down the menu, clicking on the button. You'll notice that up in the top bar, Learning Skills is labeled as the active gradebook. When I pull Windows, you'll see a blue dot for the active gradebook. If I click on Language Arts, it changes, Language Arts appears, and the blue dot appears that I'm working in the Language Arts program. Before we take a closer look at the entry of skills for each subject section, we need to create a term column for our first term or first quarter grades. This is a very important step that is required in each grade book for each term of the school year. There are two methods to create a new term column. There's a small paper icon in the menu bar that you can simply click on, or if you go to an open column and just to the right of the roster click, you'll begin this process of adding a term column or a test column. We're going to click yes here. We acknowledge that there is a term being created and click OK. And we have term number 1 created. I'm just going to type in the name to give it a label here. Creating this column ensures that the information you send to the office is reported for the correct term and is placed in the correct column of our standards-based report card that is produced for parents. So when we create term number 1 and we enter the skills or the indicators for each of these skills, they are placed in the report card under the first term column. So once we've created this term, we're ready to edit the skills. Notice that we are in the math grade book, and we're going to enter the skills sections by clicking on this Rubik's Cube icon here. Notice that on the left-hand side, you have all the skills listed that appear on our standards-based report card here. They should be in the exact same order, so you can go right straight down the list of skills on the paper-based report card as they appear in the electronic report card. To begin to enter your assessments for each skill, you simply click on the skill and then the tab labeled Student Assessments. I'm going to click on the skill. There's tabs aligning here. I want to click on Student Assessment. The class roster appears to the left, and notice that I have term number 1. I'm going to enter skills for term number 1 here so that again they appear under the first column for term number 1, not under the year grade, and then each different term we create, we have to enter it under the corresponding term. At this point, you'll simply use the keyboard to begin to input the indicators 3, 2, 1, or X as described in the report card key and rubrics that you're using for standards-based report cards. So as you go through the report card, Simply use the keyboard and enter the rubric score that you've determined and assessed for each student. Again, some of you may recall from your past work with GradeQuick in entering skills the use of a very convenient feature to fill the current column. To access this feature, you right-click on the column that you want to fill and choose the button that appears Fill Current Column. A dialog box appears and it says, what do you want to fill the current column with? Let's just say we want everybody is progressing towards the skill. We click OK. And it says, are you sure you want to fill this? Yes. And it goes straight down the column and fills it completely with the number 2 indicator for this particular skill listed here. This also works in the opposite. If I want to fill this column and I want to erase everything, I can simply leave it blank, click OK, and the column's erased. So if I made a mistake and I don't want to start over. This is a great tool to consider to use as we look at the first quarter grades. In particular, I'm looking at the fourth grade standards-based report card in math, which has 14 skills that are not going to be assessed. I marked them in X's for the first quarter. I think every grade level has been provided with this information. Using this tool, we can quickly take care of entering the data for the parents to understand that these skills are not being assessed during the first quarter. I'm going to go back to the math grade book into the skills section, and the first 2 are skills that are not going to be assessed. So I'm going to right click, fill current column. I get the dialog box. I'm going to put an X, click OK, click yes. Column 1 is filled with X's. I go to number 2, right click, fill current column, put an X, and I click yes that I want to do that. The entire column's filled. I know from the standards-based report card I skip the next 3 and I look at multiplies whole numbers. Go to multiplies whole numbers, right click, fill current column. Again, the dialog box comes up, click X, and I've done that. Now this feature also becomes useful if we're looking at a couple of students who you know who have met the standard. So again, on the rubric, I'm going to go back to rounds multiple digits, so I'm going to go to there, and I know that this student has met that standard, this student has met the standard. The rest of the students are progressing towards that standard. Now notice at the bottom, only cells that do not have value is an option, so I can click this and put 2. I have 2 students that have met the standard, and I want the rest of the column filled with 2. I click OK. And I click yes. Notice that the 2 students with the 3s remain. They've met the standard. The rest of it is completed at this point. There are 2 skill reports that I would also like to highlight at this point for you. Under the reports menu, you can generate a class roster report for subject skills by selecting skill subject reports and the particular term. In this case, term number 1 is where we've been entering grades. And as you can see, we get a nice summary of our class roster and the skills that we've entered at this point. So the X's that I used the fill column have appeared, and then the students that I've entered who have met the standard are there, and then I used the fill column feature to complete that data. So that's a nice summary report for a complete subject and all of your roster. If you like a report card style format, I'd suggest choosing 4-term grade only landscape. A dialog box appears and it allows you to summarize all of the subjects on the standards-based report card. For this, I'll just choose math and language arts. You can select all the boxes if you want. They appear to the left. And you get a report card summary for a particular student and what we've entered for that student. So the X's will appear here and the standard skill that we entered is here. I'm hopeful that this video has allowed you to see the basic navigation and functions of the GradeQuick application as you begin to get started with the process of reporting student progress of our skills to parents. I'd like to take a moment to navigate back and review a couple of main points for you. First of all, we talked about the window menu being a place to navigate between sections of our standards-based report card. I'll navigate back. Always up at the top we have the heading that tells us and a blue dot indicating which grade book is active. Second, you must create a term column. You can do that just simply by clicking on the paper icon, clicking OK to acknowledge that you're creating that column. Name the column, and we have term 1 created. Number 3, we talked about editing the skills and entering them in. While this may involve some tedious keyboard entry at times, we select the skill that we want, we choose the tab Student Assessment, and we can go down the column. We can go down each one of the columns and enter the skill, or we can use the Zap column feature or the Fill column feature by right-clicking, Fill Current Column, and in the dialog box enter the number that we want or the indicator that says we're not assessing it this quarter. Click OK. We're going to fill the entire column with that information. Fourth, there are reports that allow you to review the information that you've put in this particular standard, subject standard for each of the terms. And you can review that before you finally submit that to the office. And that brings back the final feature here. Lastly, once you've completed everything and reviewed it, you have to go to the file menu and send the grades and skills to the office. And you choose this feature to do that. Our plan is to continue to provide support by scheduling district technicians and open labs to assist you with individual questions. However, feel free to send questions to our tech support email address as issues arise for you, and we'll try to address them in a timely manner.